What's up, y'all? It's Tuesday, and I'm sitting here ready to bring y'all the politics and current events of Detroit and wherever you at. We the Nation, UrbanNationRadio.com. Your host, Kelly Green, and our guest today, Mr. Al Williams. He's a Michigan Democratic Party Membership Director. What's going on, Al?
What's going on? What's going on?
Welcome to the
Hello
show.
to your listeners, your watchers, and your audience.
Cool. So, we're hot right now. I mean, it's coming down to crunch time. You know, voting's coming up. Elections is November, 4th?
34 days left. 34 days.
34 days. That is the, that'll give you a lot of time.
34 days left. No, it doesn't give us a lot of time. But we are hot, ready. We are excited. We are building momentum. We're moving forward. We got everything that we need to win, from the issues to the candidates to the people.
Right.
We got everything we need to win, and we're fired up and ready to go.
All right. Biggest issue right now, voting. Last election turnout was not great at all.
In Detroit, it was 6%. In Wayne County, it was 4%.
Ouch. So you can't get nothing now. You don't have a voice at that kind of numbers at all.
Well, I mean, and when turnout is that low in the primary, that's a clear indication that there's a apathy out there, and then it's also a clear indication that there's that someone's not doing their job, beating the drums and telling people that there's an election. You know, we have a Secretary of State currently, and her primary job, or the primary job of the Secretary of State's office, is to manage elections. And so, as the top person in the state on elections, you would think that person will be responsible for, drumming up the turnout, trying to get the turnout to go higher and higher. Well, over the past 8 years, 4 election cycles, our turnout in the state of Michigan has gone down. So it's not just Detroit. It's not just Wayne County. The entire state has gone down. And that's primarily because, if you ask me, that there are structural barriers to voting. And the Secretary of State when was the last time you heard the Secretary of State remind people of an election day?
Not
Never.
in a long time.
When was the last time you heard the Secretary of State, when was the last time you seen the Secretary of State on a billboard saying there's an election coming up? When was the last time you seen the Secretary of State talk about early voting or absentee voting? Matter of fact, do you even know who the current Secretary of State is?
I believe it was Terry Lynn Land.
It was 4 years ago.
Right.
So we've had a new Secretary of State for 4 years, and most people don't even know who she is. I think that shows you, how much priorities Republicans have on elections, and the fact that the lower the turnout is, the easier it is for the Republican Party to win. And so when they don't talk about elections and people don't know, they usually win.
Right. That's why I just vote Democrat and call it a day.
I hear that. Give me a pound on that one, brother. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Next, I need to get you a membership form. We're going to work on that next.
Yes, let's do that, because I'm ready.
All right. That sounds good to me.
Right. Voting turnout, let's get the specifics out. Let's tell everybody where we can go to vote, where you can register to vote.
Yep.
Because
the voter registration deadline is October 6th. Right. So it's today is the September 30th. Yeah, so you got 6 days to register if you're not currently registered. They so politely just asked me to take my class. Y'all know I'm working off about 2 hours of sleep now.
all right.
So, it is election season. You might see, rings around my eyes because I don't sleep much.
Well, we got to work hard at it.
Yeah, that's what we got to do. We got to get it in. But voter registration deadline is October 6th. You can register at any clerk's office, any Secretary of State's office. You can register online. And actually, people have already started voting. Absentee ballots are out. You can vote now at the Department of Elections in the city of Detroit. It's what they call absentee voting in person. And you can go down to the Department of Elections anytime between 9 and 5 o'clock currently and go vote. As of October 16th, don't quote me on the day, but 2 weeks prior to Election Day, officially 2 weeks prior to Election Day, anybody in the city of Detroit that wants to vote can also vote at the Wayne County Community College East Campus and the Wayne County Community College West Campus. And this is important because, if you think about what we're going through now, wages aren't where they're supposed to be.
No, at all.
Not at all. Bills are higher than they're supposed to be, and they keep coming. They ain't gonna stop. Insurance rates is in the state of Michigan. We're the highest nationally. We have the highest rates of insurance. We pay the highest rates of insurance in the country, and in Detroit, it's the highest in the state. And so when you think about, and I know we've been talking about insurance redlining and insurance rates for a long time, but when you don't have the right leadership, it's not going to change.
No.
And if you can't get the right leadership, if you don't get out and vote. So.
Absolutely. We have a governor right now that's making it real cushy for those who have money, and for those who don't have money, it's real bad.
Yeah, that's what I say. We got all the issues behind us, man. The governor is pissed off. The current Republican governor has pissed off seniors. He's pissed off people with pensions. He's pissed off teachers. He's pissed off the middle class. He's pissed off labor. That's about 90% of Michigan right there.
Absolutely.
So I mean, we got the issues behind us, man. I mean, he's cut $1 billion out of education. So if you're a parent and you have your children in public schools or charter schools, they're feeling the pain right now.
Right. Because I heard somewhere where he cut public schools, but then he's giving boosts to
charter schools,
and online schools.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I mean, it's just making it. This administration has shown us that education to them is something they're going to experiment on, basically.
Right.
They're taking this time to experiment on our children. So you have things like the Education Achievement Association, which is a failure, and even the former chancellor has said that this was an experiment, and it's failing our children. And then you have cutting of school aid funding, which unfortunately he diverted less dollars to the desk of our children and more dollars to administrative costs and teachers and things needed for teachers, not things that go in the classroom. But I'm talking about healthcare, administrative costs on logistically getting things from one place to another, as well as things that they use for brick and mortar. He's increased that funding, but he's decreased the funding for books. He's decreased the funding for new technology. He's decreased the funding. I mean, it's just bad practices, backwards thinking on what our children need in the education system.
Right. That's all the things that keep our children in fight.
Absolutely. And everybody knows that, the game changer in life is education.
Yes.
It changes lives. It changes things in your life. And if we don't invest in education, if we don't provide the highest quality education possible for our children, if you ask me, I think we failed our children. So, from the Democratic Party standpoint, Mark Schauer has always supported education. He started off as a teacher. He started off as a teacher. He ran He ran a preschool. And so another education association organization.
Right.
So he got his start from education. He believes in education. His mama was a teacher. And so he's all about supporting our children. And so if when you go to the polls, don't forget Mark Schauer for governor.
How do we get the brand new 18-year-olds interested in voting? So I see a lot of young guys out there, they're pants and white T-shirts. They have no clue of how to get involved in electoral process. How do we do that? How do we reach those kind of kids?
Yeah, well, in the past, I used to do this thing called Vote Smart Detroit, where I had a contract with Detroit Public Schools, and I would go into the high schools and talk about the importance of voting. And in that process, what we did, though, was we found that you can't just go in with voter registration forms and tell them, hey, people died for your right to vote, get registered, go and go vote. That doesn't work for our generation or anybody younger anymore. You have to do that, but you also have to bring some entertainment. You also have to bring a little more education. You also have to show them how voting affects their pocketbook or their wallet.
Right.
And that's really what motivates young people. So when you talk about raising the minimum wage, they start listening.
Right.
When you talk about providing more jobs, they start listening. When you talk about getting rid of driver's responsibility fees, they start listening.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, we have to continue to talk about the past, and how people got bit by dogs and got water holes and
Right.
died for the right to vote.
Right,
I mean,
right.
because that was really only 40, 50 years ago,
Yeah.
to be honest. So it wasn't like it's not like it was a couple hundred years away. There are people that are still living now who went through that. But at the same time, when we're talking to young people, you have to talk about things that affect them on the day-to-day lives. Raising the minimum wage, cutting driver responsibility fees, ending the pipeline, the school to prison pipeline,
Right.
which is becoming a more popular thing, as well as making sure that they understand that there are jobs here, there are jobs for you, and there's training for you.
Right.
You don't have to hang out in the street and sell drugs all your life.
That's true.
You can
That is
get
very
up,
true.
get out, and get a job because there's opportunity right here in Detroit, right here in the state of Michigan, for our young people.
All right, cool. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to have more Al Williams on We the Nation Radio. Don't go nowhere. Be right back at you.
Don't forget to vote.
And we're back on We the Nation, UrbanNationRadio.com. Your host, Kelly Green. And in with me is Mr. Al Williams. We are getting it done today. We're going to really push voting today because everything that in your life is affected by a vote. Somewhere somebody voted for you to have higher car insurance, higher gas prices, everything that's higher, it got voted on. So,
I like to tell people that politics, elections, and voting is involved in your life from the birth certificate to the death certificate. A politician signs your birth certificate, a politician signs your death certificate. Everything in between, a politician makes a decision on. So you have to get out to vote. And if you don't vote, that's just like voting. You're just giving
Right.
up your responsibility
Exactly.
and letting somebody make the decision for you.
Right.
So as an adult, I don't like people making decisions for me.
at all.
I like to make my own decision. And so you just got to get up, get out and vote, man, because if not, we're going to continue the clock, the hands of the hands of the clock are going to continue to be turned backwards on us. Because if you
Exactly.
don't feel that now, don't go and vote and let Rick Snyder win. You'll feel it.
Oh, yeah. Feel like it'll be 1936 all over again.
Absolutely.
So, let's talk about what's going on now to help corral the votes, get people to the polls. What are there any programs right now people can go to or places they can go to and like get registered?
Yeah, well, you can get registered, just like I said, at Secretary of State's office. You can get registered at any Wayne County Community College. You can get registered at an NAACP office. You can go to the Secretary of State's website, download a registration form, and take it into your local clerk. If you have computer access and a printer with ink, I know how expensive that can be.
Yes, ink is
It could
pocket
be
biter.
absolutely. So everybody doesn't do that, but and then you can always, if you want to register for an absentee application. In order to do that, you have to already be a registered voter and have voted at least in person in at least one election. And you have to have done that first. But you can go to myabsentee.com. myabsentee.com. And it's a 4-step process. It takes you 30 seconds. Don't do it on your computer, though. You can only do it on a smartphone.
Oh, okay, cool. Smartphone.
That's right.
So all you teenagers, 18, 19, 20,
Yep.
smartphones.
Use your smartphone. You can register absentee on your smartphone. And what'll happen is you do that anytime before October 15th, and a absentee ballot will come to your house, and you have to have it mailed in or dropped off by 8 o'clock on election day.
So that's good for people on business trips.
Or I mean, it's not just business trips. I like to give the example of the average everyday worker. For instance, if you work at McDonald's,
Right.
just think about your day on election day.
Right.
Let's say you start at 8 o'clock in the morning and you're working an 8-hour shift. You might have a half an hour break.
Right.
Whether you take the bus or you drive, you're going to get there most likely about 7:30, right after the polls open or right before the polls open, depending on what city you're in, right? You're working 8 hours, so you're going to work to 5, and you might have children. You're going to pick them up, get them settled. By the time you even think about the fact that it's election day, the polls have already closed. Or if you work in the mall, same thing. So people with hourly wages and hourly workers, it's more difficult for you to vote on election day. So I say register absentee or go vote early. Period.
Right.
Until we get these laws changed to allow people to vote on more than one day. Until then, go vote early or vote absentee. Get it out the way, and watch the results on Election Day.
I heard that because things will not change until we vote them out. Not change. So, as far as the Democratic National Convention, I was watching that. And I was watching all the young people they got involved in that. And I kind of like, somehow or another, I saw the young people get involved, and I kind of didn't see that translating here. You know, we don't have those conventions, we don't have those gatherings say, look, this is big. There's no hammer say, you know, this is big when you got to vote. You got people like, I don't vote. So what do you tell people who said that they don't like to vote or everything stays the same? What do you tell those people?
I tell those people that currently we have a Republican governor, we have a Republican lieutenant governor, we have a Republican attorney general, we have a Republican secretary of state, we have a Republican, majority Republican state House of Representatives, we have a majority Republican House of State Senators, and then we have a Republican-led Supreme Court here in the state of Michigan. Nationally, Republicans in Congress do nothing. And there's basically a 50-50 split between Republicans. Actually, we're losing in Congress. We have a majority Republican-led U.S. Congress, and there's a 50-50 split in the U.S. Senate. And, of course, we have a Democratic president, but he can't get nothing done if Congress doesn't work.
Right.
So, if you don't want to vote, if you don't want to vote because you think things don't change, continue to let Republicans stay in control by not going to vote, and things will not change.
No, they will not.
All right. So if you want things to change, if you want the quality of your life and the life of your children to be better, invest and support candidates who support things like increasing minimum wage, who have brought things like, you know, the 5-day work week. That was the Democratic Party who did that. Unless if it wasn't for the Democratic Party, we'd be working 7 days a week. The 8-hour workday, holidays, paid holidays, sick days. Those are things that the Democratic Party brought to bear. And so in the past, they've always been for working families and supported people who are minorities and middle class who have worked on a regular basis. And in the future, in the present and in the future, they will continue to do that. And so if you want the quality of your life to improve on things like education, on things like taxes, on things like making sure that that your tax money is spent wisely, or we can get more technical on things like revenue sharing. If you don't know what revenue sharing is, revenue sharing is the money that the city of Detroit taxes that we pay into the state that is supposed to be given back to us. And every city and municipality puts money into a pot for the state of Michigan. And the money that comes back to us is supposed to be shared out of that pot for every municipality based on your population. The city of Detroit has not gotten revenue sharing in the past 4 years, not to the tune of what we're supposed to get. It's been cut by almost 200%. No wonder we're in bankruptcy.
Right.
Revenue sharing pays for police officers. Revenue sharing pays for the cleaning of parks like Belle Isle. Revenue sharing pays for recreation centers. No wonder they're all closing. I mean, all the things that we're seeing, the problems that we're having, smaller police force, parks and recreations not being taken care of and the state taking over, our water department being taken over, not having enough money to pay for our local streets, our roads, and our lights. All of that stuff goes into a budget for the city of Detroit in revenue sharing. And when you have Republicans in control who want to control the money and and have a rainy day fund instead of supporting municipalities like Detroit, Flint, Benton Harbor, Ypsilanti, Southfield, Saginaw, they take away revenue sharing basically, or cut it to the point where you can't even operate, and then they give you an emergency manager or send you into bankruptcy and say we're taking all of your resources. And that's basically what's been going on for the past 4 years. So if you want to change that, get up and vote Democratic. If you want to change the quality of life and what you see every day, get up and vote Democratic. Join the team, the winning team. Gary Peters for U.S. Senate, Mark Schauer for governor, Lisa Brown for lieutenant governor, Godfrey Dillard, an African American from Detroit with an impeccable resume, running for Secretary of State, Mark Totten, the Democratic candidate for Attorney General. I mean, these are individuals who support middle class. They support working families. They support women's rights. They support LGBT rights. They support public schools. They support everything that Detroit stands for. So, I mean, and the only way they're going to lose is if you don't get out and vote. I mean, if you didn't notice, Obama won the state of Michigan 4 years ago by 9 points. He didn't even come here but one time.
Yeah, 9 points.
And Mitt Romney supposedly called Michigan home.
He's from here. Matter of fact, Mitt Romney's house that he was for first couple years
Right.
is right the street.
Right. His father was the governor of Michigan at one point in time, right?
Yeah.
But Obama won by 9 points. That tells you something. That tells you that Michigan is majority Democratic. There's no reason why we should be ran by Republicans.
And ran the ground.
Ran into the ground by Republicans. The only reason that's happening is because people don't get up and vote. And when you don't get up and vote, stuff gets worse.
Yes. Yes.
Get your ass up and vote.
You know what? I approve everything this man just said for the past, man, because I try to tell people, and it's not sinking in. That's why I'm doing the show. Need to get in on voting. I know some people out there that's going to vote Republican. Okay. I don't agree with you, but
Get out and vote. Right.
Voting is right.
Right.
If somebody in your office is voting Republican, that means you gotta go vote and counter that vote, just so we can get establish ourselves. Because voting is very deep issue, especially in the city of Detroit, where we had a governor again on a write-in vote.
The mayor, yes, the mayor of Detroit.
Yeah, mayor
on a write-in vote. Yeah,
write-in
that's
vote.
never happened.
So, in my though, you have a write-in vote. That tells you something else about our voting process that people really aren't caring. It's like, okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, the turnout wasn't that large. That's really what it was. And a lot of people really didn't care about the election. But what they don't know, more people voted for the presidential election than they vote for governor and the mayor's election. And that's backwards. Because to be honest with you, the president makes decisions that affect you, but not as much as the mayor is an executive over a small municipality. If you live within that city, he's making decisions that affect your everyday life.
Your immediate decision.
Immediate decisions that can go into effect. And the same thing with the governor. Governor, every time that the House and the Senate passes a bill and puts it on his table, on his desk, he signs it and it goes into immediate effect.
Right.
For the state of Michigan.
Right.
So, you know, just recently, I mean, he signed a bill into law, and this is pretty good, but, I mean, I'm not mad at him about this, but he signed a bill into law that would slowly transition driver's responsibility fee payments into community service. So you'll have the option to pay for to do community service as opposed to paying the hundreds of dollars that people owe in driver responsibility fees. So I'm not necessarily mad at him about that.
Right.
So I mean, there are some things that he has been okay on, but
Throws
there's
a few bones every now and then.
yeah, he throws a few bones every now and then. Because it's an election year, he's 30 days out. He thought he'd do something for the little people.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
right.
That's basically what that is.
Okay.
That just happened this week, and I'm telling you, the only reason he did it is because we're 30 days away from an election. So, but I say all that to say that the governor's race and the mayoral race and your local elections are 10 times more important than the presidential election. That's not to say don't go vote for president.
Right.
But what I'm saying is those elections have consequences that will affect you every single day of your life.
All right, so we can't say Obama not doing his job because Obama is doing his job.
Yes. He's
But
been the most productive president in the history of the United States.
And they just don't want to admit it.
No, they want to impeach him
Yeah.
because he's so productive.
Yeah, right. Right, when you get something done, oh no, you can't get nothing done.
Right.
What are you doing, man?
Right. That's exactly what it is.
Right, so we had to do our job now.
Mm-hmm.
Get out there, vote, take care of, like, if you want things to change your neighborhood, this is where you do it. You know, you want the abandoned buildings knocked down or fixed up. You want all the streets cleaned up. This is where we do it, right here.
You want your lights turned on your street?
Yes.
You know, make sure you keep Mike Duggan feet held to the fire. But he's the mayor, and if you didn't vote and you ain't getting the lights turned on, there's probably one reason why you ain't gonna get your lights turned on, because your block didn't vote.
Exactly.
I mean, politicians talk to voters first. I mean, they do. When you come to their office, especially if you go to a congressperson's office, the secretary at the office, every congressperson whose office I walked into, asked me the first question: are you registered to vote? If you registered to vote, you're going to be put in the line. If you ain't registered to vote, you're going to be at the end of that line. You know why? Because you don't make a difference in the election one way or the other.
Exactly. You are not. You are considered a non-factor.
Considered a non-factor.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. I think that was on a reality show. when that then use a non-factor. Use a non-factor. If you ain't registered to vote, use a non-factor. That's exactly what it is.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. More Kelly Green, more Al Williams in a couple minutes.
Vote Democratic.
All right, we are back on We the Nation, UrbanNationRadio.com. I'm your host Kelly Green, along with
Al Williams.
Like this guy right here, the cool brother right here. But let me tell you a little bit about next week's show. Next week's show is really powerful, really important. I'm going to have Bob Day on from Detroit Eviction Defense Committee. I went to, this past weekend, I went to a fundraiser for a young lady. She's getting kicked out of her house through Section 8, through the Ferndale Housing Commission. And it's really a lot of, tricks and wrangling going on here. We're going to get to the root of that because she's getting kicked out. I mean, and those people know people on Section 8, they have to come to your house and inspect the house. I mean, they have to come in, they have to look around, whatever else. This guy didn't do that. He saw a house, a couple houses over, and decided that she was on an unsafe block. Didn't go to the house. Didn't even let him know he was here, whatever. Saw an abandoned building on an unsafe abandoned building on their block and see it was unsafe. So we're going to have Bob Day here. We're going to have the young lady, Ms. Charbonique here also, whose house that they're trying to kick her out. And we're going to get that out here and get some people involved because that is a very bad business. But our business, we're going to give people a vote.
Absolutely.
Because voting affects that also.
It is the fundamental bedrock foundation of democracy.
Exactly. Because we got people in Hong Kong fighting for democracy now.
Yeah, we got people. I mean, the United States of America has one of the worst voter turnout rates in the world. The state of Michigan has one of the worst voter turnout rates in the country. And the city of Detroit, I don't even want to get started on.
Yeah, we
So we have to do something to change this around because where you see countries where you see more participation, you see better leadership.
That's it.
Period. I mean, and it's hard to look at that outside of the box that we're living in. But if you look at other countries and their voter participation, the countries with more voter participation have cleaner streets.
Yes, they do.
Higher wages, jobs are protected, better education systems, and people are making more money.
Yeah.
And so if you want a better country, a better quality of life, stop sitting on your ass.
Yes.
Get up, get out and vote.
Go vote.
Excuse my language.
That's right. I told you that just in candid conversation that we got to vote. Also, voting, like my grandfather, I was shot up in Mississippi for trying to organize people to vote. So that lesson in itself teaches how important voting is.
Absolutely.
And then when they turn around now, because this is the most important election within the past, 4 or 8 years. I mean,
well, when you talk about governor's races, I think it's the most important in the past 8 years. I mean, we've seen what Rick Snyder can do, and it's bad. I mean, he's gotten rid of collective bargaining when he said it wasn't on his radar. He said he wasn't even going to mess with it. He's gotten rid of it, which stripped union rights.
Exactly.
He's reinstated the emergency manager law, even though there was an election 2 years ago, a ballot proposal, Proposal 1. I know, I ran the campaign.
Right.
The entire state, more than 70% of voters in the state said we don't want emergency managers in the state of Michigan. Within 2 months, they rewrote a law, named it something different, and of course we still have emergency managers. As a matter of fact, not only do we have emergency managers, but over 50% of all African Americans living in the state of Michigan live in a city with an emergency manager. I call it dictatorship, to be honest.
It is. It's the stripping of democracy.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly what it is. Because when you think about it, we vote for mayor, but our mayor doesn't control the money, which means our vote doesn't weigh as much as other cities' votes does. I mean, because if you vote a mayor in and he's not in control of the purse strings,
right?
What have you really? I mean, it's almost like you're voting for a puppet head.
Exactly. Actually, you vote. It's like an illusional vote.
That's right. And so, in order to get rid of emergency managers, you got to get rid of Rick Snyder.
Exactly. Period. Point blank. That's it.
Make it rain in this mug. Vote for
Right.
Mark Shower. Make it rain.
All right. Do carpools to vote.
That's right. Take
Carpool,
somebody. Don't just
right.
think about yourself. Take somebody with you. You know, take your grandma. You know, if she can't get around and get up and she hasn't voted absentee, make sure she get there. Take your sister. Take your brother. You know, take a high school student that has not voted yet, who's voting for the first time. Take a college student that hasn't voted yet and voting for the first time. Remind people who have to work on election day that they got to go vote early.
Right.
We're trying to get the numbers. Detroit it should not be at the levels to where we are. The city of Detroit used to have one of the highest African American voter turnout and voter participations in the country. We've fallen to 4%, which is absolutely embarrassing.
Especially for a city this size.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people have moved away from Detroit, but not that many people who weren't 4%.
Right. Absolutely. But, I mean, yeah, 4% of 700,000 is just not very good whatsoever.
That's not even neighborhood.
Yeah, we can do better than that. We can do so much better than that. And it's incumbent upon us, people within the party, people with people who have, you know, some sort of semblance or understanding of how politics works or how important voting is, to educate others and let them know that this is nothing to sleep on. You know, you falling asleep at the wheel by not going to vote, you're going to end up having a car accident. Somebody's going to run into you.
Exactly.
Your life is going to be screwed up. The quality of life is going to go down. So those are the analogies that I use. But at the same time, it's important, man. This election is extremely, extremely, extremely important. The Republican Party are talking about changing the way that they elect the president in the state of Michigan. Each state does it differently.
Gerrymandering. That's what they're bringing around.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but they're trying to change the way they're trying to change the way our electoral college in the state of Michigan basically operates. So, our presidential election in the state of Michigan will no longer be ruled by a popular vote.
Really?
Right. And so if we don't replace Rick Snyder, and get control of the House and the Senate, you know, 4 years from now during the presidential election, the entire state of Michigan can vote for the Democratic candidate, and the Republican Party has this formula to where the Republican candidate will have won Michigan, regardless of what the popular vote is.
That's crazy.
And so it is extremely important. These Republicans are not playing. This is not a game to them. And they start 10 years out planning for the day that's coming 30 days from now. It is extremely important that you get out to vote. You get your mama, your daddy, your uncle, your grandma, your granddad, your grandchildren, your stepsister, your baby sister, your god sister, your friend, your BFF, your BFFF, the guy that stand on the corner, your drug dealer, your weed man, everybody got to get out to vote. Everybody. Even the weed man. Even the weed man needs to vote.
All right. And tell the weed man if he votes, it can be legalized.
There you go.
It can be legalized.
Or if you don't want it to be legalized, you can do that too. But that's an issue at the forefront of our electoral politics right now.
Exactly.
I mean, and that affects every single one of us, especially young people who smoke and young people who don't smoke, regardless. I mean, it has an effect on what your tax dollars are like, or you know, how many people, how many jobs are available in that industry. I mean, right now, Colorado is booming. Booming.
They made like $19 million like last year.
Booming, okay? It's booming.
Wow.
That industry is creating new millionaires.
Every day.
Every day. You know, vote green too. I do.
All right. October 6th is the last day to register for vote. So get out there, get to anywhere that you can register to vote, because this is huge. Super huge.
Absolutely. October 6th is the last day to vote. November 4th. Election day is November 4th, Tuesday, November 4th. And once again, you know, I'll talk a little bit about the Democratic candidates. Mark Shower, he's out of Battle Creek, candidate running for governor. He's tied in the polls right now. Actually, a poll came out today that has him in the lead.
Yes.
Against Republican Rick Snyder.
Keeping the lead.
Lisa Brown is also on his ticket. She is a current Oakland County clerk. She's the young lady known for Regina Gate. Look it up. She's a very, very charismatic young lady who's running for lieutenant governor right under Mark Schauer. Godfrey Dillard.
Yes,
My
get
man,
that name
Godfrey
out there.
Dillard. Look it up, www.godfreydillard.com. He has an impeccable resume. He was actually the lead attorney in the affirmative action case for the University of Michigan.
Oh, sweet.
He's African American, right here from the city of Detroit. He's running for secretary. He's the Democratic nominee for Secretary of State. So he's not just running; he's already won the nomination for the Democratic Party, and he is the black guy on the ticket. If Godfrey Dillard wins, he'll be the second African American to win a statewide election in the state of Michigan. There's only been one other, and that was Richard Austin, and he was Secretary of State.
Right.
And he was the longest serving Secretary of State in the state of Michigan.
Yes.
And so, it's very important, Detroit. Stand up for your own, support your own. Let's get Godfrey Dillard in there. And if you need to look him up, if you don't know who he is, look him up. Believe me, you'll look at his resume and say, yeah, he need to be elected to something.
Oh yeah.
It's just that
Follow
good.
him on Twitter. You get his Twitter handle so I can follow this cat.
Godfrey_Dillard. That's his
Gotcha.
Twitter, @Godfrey_Dillard. And a guy, I've been with the guy in other parts of the state. We've been in places like Livingston County, Jackson County, surrounded by white folk, and they love him. They love him. They call him the Michigan's own Obama. They love him. So if we can't stand up, if they can stand up for him, we can stand up for our own too.
Exactly.
He's running statewide, and he needs our help. And so Detroit, you need to stand up for Godfrey Dillard. Get him elected.
Yes. Follow him on Twitter @Godfrey_Dillard.
Godfrey_Dillard. Yeah, and his website is www.godfreydillard.com.
Yes, please support it all. Let's get all in there so we.
Oh, and I can't forget about my man Richard Bernstein. He's running for Michigan Supreme Court.
That was my next question.
He's a dynamo man. The guy is absolutely amazing. He's blind.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, he's run marathons. He's run Ironman marathons.
Right.
And he's blind. He's 100% blind. He's a lawyer.
I've heard great things, especially there was a case in New York that he won.
Yes, he's won a numerous amount of cases, and he's the Bernstein that don't charge nobody.
Hey, that's a good Bernstein to have. Right
He's
there.
the Bernstein that he do your cases for free. He do everything that he's done has been pro bono. Okay, so that's the kind of guy I want on the Michigan Supreme Court. Because he's all about justice, and he's the epitome of what justice should be like. If you think about it, what the symbol of justice is, it's a lady holding a pendulum, going up and down with a blindfold over her eyes, because justice should always be blind.
Right.
Let's elect Richard Bernstein, this wonderful blind attorney, to be our next state Supreme Court justice. Because if not, we're going to continue to have insurance redlining because Republicans don't care. We're going to continue to lose things like affirmative action. Minimum wage will get passed in the state legislature, the governor will sign it, and then it's going to go to the Supreme Court. We'll continue to get gerrymandered every 10 years when it comes to redistricting. The Supreme Court is important. It affects your life for decades, the decisions that they make. So.
Exactly. And you don't want anybody who you haven't voted on making decisions for you.
Oh, yeah. Or women, you don't want nobody who don't believe in pro-choice to be on the Supreme Court, because women are this close to losing the ability to even have an abortion in the state of Michigan. This close.
Right.
This close.
Right.
So that's how important this is. Rape insurance. The Republican Party passed a bill that forces women to purchase insurance ahead of time for being raped.
Right.
You have to purchase it ahead of time. In Michigan, that's law right now. Thank you to the Republican Party. I appreciate you.
The almighty dollar. Anything to make a buck.
Right, anything to make, there you go. So, and last but not least, man, Deborah Thomas. She's also a Detroiter, African-American female.
Yeah, right.
She's running for state Supreme Court as well. She's on the 3rd Circuit Court right now. She's been a judge for over 20 years. She's a great attorney. She was a great attorney prior to that. Came out of Wayne State University. Impeccable background. She will make a great justice on the Supreme Court for the state of Michigan. So remember those names. Mark Schauer for governor. Lisa Brown for lieutenant governor. Godfrey Dillard for Secretary of State. Richard Bernstein and Deborah Thomas for Supreme Court. And Mark Totten, my man Mark Totten, for Attorney General. He got a long shot, but he's a good guy.
All right, there you have it. Now, I know I had a lot of people watching from all over the country, so wherever you are, remember the governor's elections right there. The governor, Secretary of State, those elections are the key for your state, for things to change in your neighborhood where you are. So we just ran down what's going on here in Detroit, because if it happens here, it can happen anywhere.
Absolutely. It can happen anywhere. Absolutely. So, yeah, all over the country, man, voting is important. There's an election in your neighborhood, in your city, in your state this year. Guaranteed. So get up, get out, and go vote. Your life depends on it. Your quality of life depends on it.
Your pocketbooks.
Your pocketbook.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to make some more money, get up, get out, and vote for the right person. It's going to help make that happen. Put more money in your pocket.
Yes, yes. Al, man, it's been a pleasure, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. Have me back anytime, man.
Oh, for sure, because we're going to get into it, because I know a lot of stuff, especially after election, when everything's all said and done, we got to break down and
we can talk policy. We can talk policy and how it affects people after the election's over. So I'm all about it, man. Love your show. Would love to come back. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I don't remember my handle name, but I'm on there somewhere.
Right.
You can look up Al B.J. Williams. And, shout out to Urban Nation. Shout out to my man Jay Dixon. Shout out to Poetic. And, hey, man, keep it moving. Democratic Party, let's go win.
Get out your vote for us, y'all. It's Kelly Green, Urban Nation Radio, We the Nation. See you next Tuesday.